So on my YouTube, I posted, I'm feeling like doing a question/answers video again, and I haven't had one in quite a long time, so if there's any burning questions you have for me or TinyTimmy3574, drop them below and we'll read them for a video sometime. I posted this comment, not realizing that my 7-year anniversary was the day afterwards. Bravo Versey. So now I get to read these comments and do it early, and unfortunately I gave no one any information that I made this post. I made it just half-heartedly, hoping maybe something would happen, and now it looks like I had to announce it officially. Willoughby Melton H3M asked me, can you make Randolph Mall 1983 in Asheboro, North Carolina? Absolutely. Badman Cat has asked me, have I ever been to a Radio Shack? And it's been a long time since I thought about actually being at a Radio Shack. So the answer is yes, I have been to a Radio Shack. I used to go to Radio Shack quite frequently, and I wish that Radio Shack was still around because it would make a lot of my projects a lot easier, considering working on electronics and cameras and whatnot. You can't really buy the proper tools and things that you need that were like little things, and that's what Radio Shack had. Well, of course, Radio Shack's not around, so where am I supposed to order this? Amazon. What do I have to do? Wait for a package to arrive. Funny guy, ha 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 ha, 4125.
Impressive. Very nice.
Asked me, what video are you most proud of? This is a difficult question because I like a lot of my videos, mainly the trailer ones, because I put a lot of work into making it as cinematic as I possibly can. But there are other ones that I put a lot of editing into that don't get very many views, and I was having a lot of fun with those. Like, mainly like these gameplay videos where I did Lethal Company with my friends. I put some crazy wacky edits into them that I had a lot of fun doing, and of course you can see how well that these videos did. This video might be my favorite though for editing wise, because I got to make a little movie at the beginning. I had a lot of fun with this AOL segment, and I also spent a long time on this. I did so much research just to try to recreate a full AOL chat room, and I went out of my way to edit the background and everything. It was kind of fun to make, but it was also pretty tedious. I still enjoyed making it though. TinyTimmy3574 has asked me, did I take hours? Yes, I did. What drove you to make games on Roblox? Any advice for people doing similar projects? What drove me? I guess just being able to preserve history, if that makes sense. For someone doing the same thing, I would say it takes a long time to get used to doing these projects, and projects will take a long time, but you gotta stick with it, otherwise it'll never get done. Do I work with a team of people, or am I a solo creator? On YouTube it's solo, but for games I work with TinyTimmy3574 or Sus, depends how you know him. I work with him on games. I used to do it solo. I find it more enjoyable that I can work on games with my best friend and someone who also knows what he's doing, because then whenever there's a issue or something that I wonder if it looks correct or not, I'll ask him, and usually he gives me a good enough response. Or if he doesn't, then it just sucks, and then we just have to figure it out together. Brady the Studips asked me, do you ever consider moving platforms off Roblox or going into a different hobby entirely? Yes, I wouldn't mind working on a different platform and experiencing a different kind of community than I do, but I don't really have a choice because I've learned Roblox Studio so well at this point that I don't feel like learning something else. Blender is great, and I'm sure I could learn Blender a lot better, but I have a basic Blender understanding for what I need to do, and it works for me. I have considered making games on Steam or making my own platform altogether, but of course takes work and time, which is not something I really have. Blue Fury 7257 said hi. Hi. What is your favorite department store? Which I think is a very intriguing question. I'm not entirely sure if this one's obvious or not, but I think if you go around a few different games, or perhaps look at some of my media, you might have a bit of an idea of what that might be. Next question is from Finn at Versatile. Is Randall Park Mall a possible game for the future? Just remember that with God, anything is possible. Lucas has asked me opinions, which I think is a very intriguing concept, because I could go into opinions pretty deeply, I guess. What's my opinion? Well, let's look at the textbook definition of opinion. Apple Blossom says, at Versatile, what is your favorite mall you have made? I don't know. That's actually kind of a hard topic. It's either between Rolling Acres Mall and Point Mall. The problem with every game that I make is that once something gets old enough, I think it sucks. So for me, anything before Lone Star Grill, I really don't like, even though I know that a lot of other people disagree with that opinion. But you know, just on a aesthetic standpoint, I think anything made after Lone Star Grill is personally my finer work, if that can be considered fine work. Bunda has asked me that I should do what made me start doing all the maps in the first place. When I was little, I always had this intrigue with history, specifically World War II, but I always had a lot of interest in antiques. The main thing that probably got me into making the maps that I do is that I used to make myth games. If any of you remember myth games, you can remember that that did not last very long, and it was only infamous probably because of Flamingo. My games really sucked, and it was mainly used for my friends and I to mess around in, and nothing really came out of that. It wasn't until like a year or two later that I got interested in radio broadcasts, which of course brought on commercials. I don't know why I really found interest in radio broadcasts. I think it was just cool knowing that music and radio sounded a lot different back in the 70s and 80s. One of those ads was Kmart, and that reminded me that, oh yeah, Kmart existed before I was born. I hadn't even thought about Kmart in years at that point, and I was like, you know, I remember that store. I wonder if I could make a little game showcasing that store, but from the 80s. So that's what I did. I made a Kmart that was extremely inaccurate, but it was fun to make, and I enjoyed that. And I thought I'd try to do something alongside my commentary career on YouTube that I was getting very, very bored of. So it just ended up taking over my channel, and I just kept making games and games and more games. Really, I could go into a lot of detail more about this, but my process of getting there is just a lot of trial and error, and thankfully, I think my designs improved a lot from 2021 versus now. So hopefully that answers your question, Thunda. Thank you for asking. This next question is from Isaac Roller. How are you feeling with YouTube and social media being a big part of your life now? Is it still as important? Drained at all? Releasing the videos is awesome, but making the videos is not so fun. Every single video that involves me speaking, I have to take so many cuts and takes. I can tell you right now that what you're listening to is such a shortened version of what was originally produced. Social media being a big part of my life, I'm not so sure if it's as big as it used to be, because I used to really watch YouTube and now I kind of just don't. I don't actually really do much online anymore. I will scroll Twitter once in a while to look for the funnies, or maybe I'll look at Instagram a little bit and find something hopefully really funny that I can share with one of my friends. But that's pretty much it. I wouldn't say that I'm drained from YouTube, because my videos have such long periods where I just don't upload anything, and I'm sorry guys, I'm sorry. but games take a long time to make, and I also don't have ideas for videos. So whenever something shows up that's not a game, you can imagine that yours truly, Versey, thought that up in his head and thought it would do really well, and then it gets 100 views. Also, in my hasty realization that I missed my anniversary on YouTube, I decided to frantically post this on my Instagram story, to which I have received a question from Reina, who has asked me, "Wanna eat lobster with a monster?" Which I have been pondering for some time, because I'm not sure if I would eat lobster with a monster. I would eat lobster, but I'm not sure if I would eat it with a monster. I guess it would depend on what kind of monster we're talking about. Are we talking about Frankenstein, who's just a misunderstood guy, I think? Or are we talking about the xenomorph? Which I think I have concluded that I would indeed eat lobster with a monster. Hopefully that answers your question, Reina. So I could probably go through a lot more questions if I gave this more time, but I have waited an entire day, and I have been recording and editing throughout 2 days of time, which is, I think, a little bit too long for something that was supposed to be done for an anniversary day video. So hopefully you enjoyed if you stuck around this long and you found my answers insightful. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. I know you're gonna dig this.
Then when you get the money, you get the power.
Funny how? Funny, man.